You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonati spine procedures, Alfred Bonati, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonati and your host, Kimberly Brumell.
Thank you for joining us for American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Brumell, joined by Ethan Euchre.
Glad to be here.
And Jeff Wagstaff.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Yes. Well, we have an exciting show lined up. We have Dr. Michael Hoffer. He's from UHealth, and he's going to talk about concussions. This is kind of poignant because there's a new movie that's coming out talking about the doctor that was able to diagnose concussions to begin with.
Yeah, and really basically took on the NFL.
Yes.
And it's the new Will Smith movie. It's
Yeah.
kind of a big deal, but kind of our angle here and what we're going to talk to Dr. Hoffer about is not only the ins and outs of a concussion and how at risk you are when you play combat sports, but the media
The misconception.
used the movie, of course, as another scare tactic
Yes.
to frighten parents into saying, I can't let little Johnny play football. So parents
Correct.
are pulling their kids out, and we'll see what Dr. Hoffer thinks about that.
Yes. And then, of course, we have a gentleman that's going to be on, and it's called Blind Descent, Brian Dickerson. Now, wasn't he in the forces?
Yeah, he was a U.S. Navy rescue swimmer.
Right.
And big adventure guy, likes
Yes.
to scale the tallest mountains.
Oh, and he did.
And none are bigger than Everest.
Oh, yeah.
And
So
what happened to him at the top and how he made his way back down is pretty incredible.
Blind Descent. That gives you a little hint. And then, of course, we'll hear what's new in American medicine today. But up first...
In today's Back to Life segment, we
right.
will talk to a patient of the Bonati Spine Institute who went from living a life that was restricted by pain and discomfort through their journey of finding the Bonati Spine Institute and are now living pain-free.
Well, I'd like to welcome to the show Ed Menio. He's from New York, and he's on the line. Why don't you tell us how you came
Hello?
to... Hi,
How you doing, Ed?
How are you doing?
Good. Why don't you tell us how you came to be in pain, what you suffered with, and how it was affecting your life, and then how you ended up making your way down to the Bonati Spine Institute?
Well, my pain started. I'm a contractor, so I do a lot of building and a lot of heavy lifting and everything.
Got it.
And my pain started 15 to 20 years ago. And at that time, this kind of surgery wasn't even invented, I don't think. But I lived with it and lived with it and lived with it, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And I guess my disc were degenerating,
Okay.
and they got to a point to where there wasn't any disc between the vertebrae, and my bones were rubbing on my sciatic nerve that goes down to my legs.
That sounds painful.
And I suffered with that for at least 10 years.
When you suffered like that, how did the pain feel? Explain that to the patient, or to the listeners rather, and you as a patient. How did that affect your life?
The pain was atrocious. It was like somebody sticking an ice pick in your back
Right.
and not removing it. And on top of that, it would the pain would be so bad, and they would Charlie horse. The muscles would Charlie horse, and then they would compound it.
Got it.
And it was just literally just horrible.
Sounds miserable.
I went to chiropractors to try to, help out, and sometimes they did, and sometimes they didn't.
Right.
And I went through all kinds of, things like that. And they do massages and vibrating and electroshock and everything on me, and it was just atrocious. And
Ed, I'm curious. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I got to ask you. We've talked to so many patients over the years who've suffered for, like you did, 5, 10 years, and it sounds like you were really suffering. Help us understand, though.
I was at the point of pain where it would get me down, and I would throw my back out or whatever. That's what I called it. But I would be in such pain that I would literally be on the living room floor day and night for 2 weeks straight. And I wasn't even able to crawl to the bathroom. I would have to go in the pie plate and urinate in the pie plate. My wife would have to empty. I could not even get off the floor.
And how long did that last?
That would last 2 weeks at a time sometimes. And it would be 3 or 4 times a year that it would really get that bad.
So you went to...
But it was still constant all the time.
Right.
But it would get very, very bad at 3 or 4 times a year, sometimes 5 times a year.
Now,
And
you said when it would get that bad, obviously when you felt up to it, you would make your way to the chiropractor. And
Exactly.
I think you told me that you had like thousands of trips to the chiropractor.
I would
Did
go
that
to
help?
the chiropractor at least 3, 4 times a week
Okay.
for 10 years.
Right.
And you didn't feel much relief of your pain.
Sometimes
From those visits.
I would, and most of the time not.
But short-lived if you did get any relief. The one thing that I thought was incredible, you suffered with this tremendous amount of pain, and you said for the most part you weren't taking any painkillers.
No, if I took anything, it would be either Tylenol or Relief, and
Right.
I'm not a big medicine person, so
Correct.
yeah, I just fought with it and worked with it and learned to live with pain for that many years.
Wow.
So I found Bonati.
Well, how did you find the Bonati Spine Institute?
So, well, I have family in Florida,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm going to apply there and see if they could help me do something. I mean, I've got to do something. It was just like I was getting where I wouldn't be able to work anymore.
Right.
So, and then I contacted them,
Okay.
and I filled out the application online and everything, and I flew down, and they put me right in. And incredible.
Well, wait a minute. Now you're jumping too far ahead. When you made your way to the Bonati Spine Institute, kind of describe what that was like for you and the evaluation process.
It was incredible. The people were fantastic. I've never met a nicer bunch of professionals in my life, ever. From when I first went in to fill out the application,
Sure.
I mean, it's not like walking into any hospital in the world. I mean, there is people after people and person after person. Always, you're not sitting there waiting for no time at all. Somebody is always showing you or showing you something or doing something or putting you through a test
Right.
or whatever.
Okay.
And the tests were just incredible. I did my MRI there,
Mm-hmm.
and I walked over to the separate building that they have there, and it's quite a unit.
Yes.
And that's all they do is X-rays and MRIs in
Right.
that building, and
It's a comprehensive facility. Yes.
All inclusive.
it's absolutely phenomenal.
When,
So when I got my MRI done,
Mhm.
as soon as I got done, I carried my pictures, my X-ray pictures, and all
Okay.
that, and the MRI
Yes.
back over, and I was introduced to Dr. Goldstein.
Grossmith.
Yeah,
That's okay.
Close enough. No.
Goldsmith.
So Dr. Grossmith.
And his interview with me, he had me sit down, and he said, "Let me see what's going on with you, and then I'll ask you what your symptom is."
Right.
So, and he put all the X-rays and everything up on the board and threw a couple down on the floor, and I thought that was kind of comical. He said, "There's nothing here, nothing there."
Right.
But then he started to get very intricate, and he was going like nerve by nerve by nerve, and this one goes down to your leg, and this is your sensation nerve.
Yes.
This is your feeling into your toes, and I mean,
Mm-hmm.
my jaw dropped to the ground. I mean, I've never heard anybody just talk like that or have the knowledge
Well,
of every nerve in your body, and it was just incredible.
Well, that's
Incredible.
the difference in the training that Dr. Bonati gives to all the current surgeons. So Dr. Grossmith included, they are able to pinpoint the true root cause of the patient's problems, like he did with you, Ed. How was surgery for you?
Well, I went in after I had all that done. I mean, and it's after he explained all of what was wrong with me, then
Okay.
he asked me, "Well, what is your symptom?" And I said, "Well, you nailed every symptom
Correct.
on the head of the nail there.
Right.
I mean, you already know the symptoms. I don't need to tell you."
Mm-hmm.
And he was 100% right. So I came back the next day for surgery.
Mm-hmm.
And I got prepped and everything, and I met this young lady who was the operating room nurse.
Yes.
And I was talking with her, and, when you see somebody that you know you don't never forget a face.
Right.
But I kept staring at this lady, and I said, boy, you look awful familiar. Where are you from? And she says, well, originally I was from Odessa, New York. And I said, oh, my God, you and I went to school together. And I know I know your mom very well.
Small world.
And her sister. I graduated with her sister, Margie
too
Redmond.
funny. Aw.
And what a small world.
Yeah,
exactly. Well,
so here you are having surgery. What was that like? You had your procedure, and when did you start feeling pain relief?
I went into surgery, and they put me out. I didn't want to watch it or anything like that. I'm pretty much a chicken on that stuff.
Right.
So, and I believe like an hour and a half later, they recuperated me and woke up in the recovery, and I was up walking around, and then I'm really prepared to spend the night or whatever, but you don't there.
Correct.
Because, it's invasive. So,
sure.
I mean, I felt like $1 million. I didn't have zero pain. And I drove from there, after they checked me out, and I went down to Clearwater to a friend of mine's house, and I did spend the night there. So I had to come back to get the drain tube out the next day.
Okay.
And that day, they put the Band-Aid on me, and I walked out, and I just like $1 million. I mean, I've never felt that good in 20 years.
And
that's fantastic.
Hey, Ed, how quickly were you back to work as a contractor? You got to imagine that's some tough work to get back to right after back surgery.
I took it fairly easy. I've got super guys that work with me, so they didn't let me do any of the slugging and everything. But I took it easy for a week or two.
Okay.
It wasn't longer than 2 weeks.
Yep.
And
A week or two.
Yeah.
That's not long at all.
That's not long.
Wow. And how are you feeling today, Ed?
I feel like $1 million. I never felt so good.
Awesome.
So this problem that I had must be hereditary, I guess, because then my brother had this same problem that I did.
Oh, okay.
And he was going to an upstate hospital here, and they went through all the, the MRIs and all this stuff, and they were going to cut him open in the neck and put stainless steel disc in there.
Yeah, those are bad.
Mark, man, you need to really think about that. That's for life.
Yeah.
I said, you really need to think about that before you do. And I wish you would check out the Bonati Institute. Well, it so happens that he did. He filled out the application, and he got an appointment, and he went down, and he went through 2 surgeries there. But he was as rough shape as I was.
Right.
But he had 2 surgeries there, and it wasn't even in his neck. It was in his L3 and L4.
Ooh, okay.
That'll be darn.
Yeah.
And he today is, we talked last night, and, he's 100% back to normal.
Ed, final question.
Yes.
After everything that you've been through at the Bonati Spine Institute, your experience, your brother's experience, do you feel comfortable telling family and friends, sending them down?
My sister had the same experience. She went there too.
See?
Oh, wow.
So it sounds like you do feel comfortable referring people to Bonati.
Third time in 3 people. It's a charm.
Yeah. And my sister, I talked to her last night. She's incredible, and everybody is just like blown away with this whole thing. It is, and we tell everybody.
We're proud to hear it.
Yep.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, Ed. I wish we had more time to have you on the line, but we're running out. Thank you again for sharing your story with us. Continued good health. Make sure you stay in touch and send us pictures of family functions and fun things that you're back to life and doing.
Absolutely.
You have a great day.
Thanks a lot, Ed.
All righty. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You all have a nice day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
So if you're listening and you suffer with neck, back, sciatic pain just like Ed, reach out to Bonati at Bonati.com. Coming up after the break, we have Dr. Michael Hoffer. He's going to talk about concussions. Make sure you stay tuned.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
This is the first time that I am pain free after 18 years. And it's just wonderful. I love it.
Phenomenal results. No pain whatsoever.
My pain is virtually gone. Nothing short of a miracle.
Those surgeries gave me my life back.
Already I feel like a new person.
I'm going home new. I can chase my grandbaby now. I can garden, I can cook, and I'm really thrilled. The outcome's been remarkable.
I feel 100% better.
It's like a miracle.
It was phenomenal. It literally did change my life.
I was in a wheelchair at that time, and I left here walking.
Every single pain that I had when I came here is gone.
I'm ready to go home and feel great. This place is great. Thank you.
Everything that they said they would do, they have done, and I'm very, very satisfied and happy with those results.
I knew in surgery, in fact I told the surgeon when he relieved the pain off the nerve.
The pain is gone. I'm feeling wonderful.
I have no pain. I feel better than I felt in 4 years from the surgery. It was almost immediate relief.
Today I am totally pain-free, which is just amazing. It's fantastic.
It definitely works. I mean, I really don't know what else to tell you. I'm happy.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonati spine procedures, Alfred Bonati, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonati and your host, Kimberly Brumell.
Thank you for joining us on American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Brumell, joined by Ethan Euchre.
Glad to be here.
Our senior fellow, Jeff Wagstaff.
Yes, I am.
And he missed his mic.
That's like the first time in 2 years I've done that.
First time in radio, even?
Probably. Yeah,
there you go. Well, we're excited because the new Will Smith movie, Concussion, has created a lot of media scrutiny on brain injuries in sports, specifically in regards to children. And here to talk about it is Dr. Michael Hoffer, a nationally known concussions expert and director of the University of Miami's Department of Otolaryngology's Vestibular and Balance Program. Welcome to the program.
Nicely
I practiced that one.
How you doing, Dr. Hoffer?
Good. I have to practice it all the time. Nice to speak to you, and thank you very much for having me.
Hey, I wanted to start out by saying a lot of people, most people, know what a concussion is. It's,
Yes.
when your skull or your brain slams against your skull. But a lot of what the movie Concussion deals with are what are known as CTEs, and I didn't even know what they were.
Yeah,
so
me
can you
either.
explain what they are and how they occur?
Yeah, so and that's one of the big misnomers around this movie. Chronic traumatic encephalopathy, which is the long way of saying CTE, is a disorder that was discovered on autopsy in the brains of individuals with significant numbers of head injuries. I mean, hundreds and hundreds, maybe even thousands and thousands of head injuries. And it's been described in that population of individuals. But it's not a disorder that can be addressed, that can be diagnosed while people are alive yet. And it's not a disorder that we think occurs, or there's not a lot of evidence that it occurs after only a dozen or so head injuries. It's got to be hundreds or thousands of injuries.
So what type of corpses and cadavers were these people during life that they ended up with CTE?
Well, the movie focuses on corpses and cadavers of individuals that had played professional football.
Right.
And they had played professional football in an era where the protective equipment wasn't as good as it is today, and where the surveillance for brain injury was not as stringent as it is today. So, in those days, it was, always the guys went back in. It was, you were, too tough to come out for a head bonk.
Yeah.
So there was a lot. It was a lot different time than it is nowadays.
Well, Dr. Hoffer, and that actually brings up a good point that I wanted to make, is that I've been saying for years that they should just remove all pads. And it sounds insane at first, but think about it. If you went back to not really having any pads and protection, you're not going to run 1,000 miles an hour at another player and crash into him, because when you have pads on, it gives you, I think, a false sense
of security, yes.
and safety. Whereas we used to play ball in the yard all the time with no pads, tackle football.
Right.
But not to, smash head to head against somebody.
Well, the return to leather helmets days actually has been postulated by others as well. So I'm not saying that that's the way to go, but you're not far
I'm
off.
not alone.
What others have described as well.
Gotcha.
But
go ahead.
Doc Hoffer, if I had a young child, 10, 12 years old, that wanted to play football, just based on what I've experienced as a kid, what I've seen in the news media about famous football players, all these guys who have had problems, I'd be afraid to let my kid play. What's the reality?
Yeah, and the reality is we don't want people to be afraid. First of all, sports has a number of positive benefits on young lives. It teaches children discipline. It teaches them teamwork. It teaches them, to follow the instructions of someone who's, asking them to do certain things certain ways. And of course there's a physical education benefit as well. It's more fun to get fit playing sports than just running laps. And so we think that the value and the community, sense of community, being able to play against children in other areas, et cetera, it's all very, very important. And that's far more important, or the risk of removing that is far greater than the risk that children who have a couple of impacts are going to get CTE.
It's learning life skills, really. How to be competitive, how to be things that you're going to run into as an adult.
Right.
And consider the fact that the risk of a concussion, a single concussion, in girls soccer, young girls soccer, is not that much lower than in boys football. Are you going to start taking soccer away from your daughter?
Right.
And then lacrosse away from your son, and then hockey away from your son?
We just need to wrap everybody in bubble wrap.
Right, and pretty soon it'll be tennis, and then it'll be golf, and we won't do anything. Why don't you tell us about a certain type of goggles that can help diagnose problems?
Yes, and thank you very much for asking about goggles.
This is his research.
We at the University of Miami are doing a number of centers, a number of labs at our university are doing work to study the diagnosis and treatment of prevention, diagnosis, and treatment of concussion. And Jillian Hotz is the person who leads our concussion program here at the university, and she's internationally known for her work with pediatric head injury and child sports injuries. Our lab has been doing work funded by the Department of Defense as well as the NFL and Under Armour and GE, studying a pair of goggles, a device basically that can diagnose head injury on the sidelines or in the locker room objectively.
Right.
So one of the problems we have right now is how do we really know if someone has a head injury and needs to come out of the game? How do we really know if someone's cured and go back in the game?
Right.
And these goggles do this objectively, looking at reflexes that can't be influenced by people either wanting to play or wanting not to play or whatever.
Correct.
And so they're accurate point of injury devices that also give us prognostic information.
These are obviously very important to get out to the public, but I know you're still kind of currently researching them and putting them together, correct? They're not available yet.
Well, they're not available for the public yet. We have an industry partner, NKI Neurokinetics Inc. in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, that manufactures the goggles.
Okay.
And right now, the form that would be used in testing sports is being used experimentally with approval, of course, on University of Miami athletes. and soon on high school athletes throughout Miami.
I would think, though, it would have to be used on those injured soldiers.
Yeah, in battle.
Well, that's where we developed it, and soldiers will be looked at in the next phase of studies. But there's a lot of regulations that go along with performing studies on soldiers, so we want to make sure that we follow those rules carefully.
With your best guess, when do you think that would become public?
Well, unfortunately, everything's funding dependent because the goggles need more changes, and they need to go through the FDA, which is not an inexpensive process. Despite the fact that there's a small company behind this, I would say 2 years.
Okay.
But quicker if there was the right amount of funding available.
If somebody's listening and they want to help fund this, how do they do so?
Well, if they want to help fund the work that's being done at the University of Miami at Concussions, they can, I don't know the exact website they would go on, but they can contact our department, and we will
phone number?
We will point them in the right direction. Okay. And we are the Department of Otolaryngology at the University of Miami.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for coming on and discussing concussions. We truly appreciate it. Good luck.
We'll have to have you back on once the goggles, especially,
I'd love to learn more.
Are released.
We would very much like to come on. Like I said, we will be testing them throughout the high school community in Miami, and we're hoping that we keep our Miami athletes as well as athletes across the world safe.
All right. Dr. Michael Hoffer of UHealth at University of Miami. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Take care.
All right.
What an exciting discussion.
It's very useful stuff, too.
Yes. Well, for anyone that's ever thought about climbing Mount Everest or have been totally in awe by people that do, make sure you stay tuned because we have a guest coming up going to talk about that. You're listening to American Medicine Today.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
This is the first time that I am pain-free after 18 years. And it's just wonderful. I love it.
Phenomenal results. No pain whatsoever.
My pain is virtually gone. Nothing short of a miracle.
Those surgeries gave me my life back.
Already I feel like a new person.
I'm going home new. I can chase my grandbaby now. I can garden. I can cook. And I'm really thrilled. The outcome's been remarkable.
I feel 100% better.
It's like a miracle.
It was phenomenal. It literally did change my life.
I was in a wheelchair at that time, and I left here walking.
Every single pain that I had when I came here is gone.
I'm ready to go home and feel great. This place is great. Thank you.
Everything that they said they would do, they have done, and I'm very, very satisfied and happy with those results.
I knew in surgery, in fact, I told the surgeon when he relieved the pain off the nerve.
The pain is gone. I'm feeling wonderful.
I have no pain. I feel better than I felt in 4 years from the surgery. It was almost immediate relief.
Today I am totally pain-free, which is just amazing. It's fantastic.
It definitely works. I mean, I really don't know what else to tell you. I'm happy.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonati spine procedures, Alfred Bonati, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonatti and your host, Kimberly Brumell.
Thanks for tuning in to American Medicine Today. I am Kimberly Brumell, joined by Ethan Euchre.
Glad to be here.
And Jeff Wagstaff.
Howdy, howdy.
Our senior fellow, yes. We have such an exciting show. And on this particular segment, we're very excited. We're here with Brian Dickinson, a former U.S. Navy Air Rescue swimmer, an accomplished adventurer, and author of Blind Descent, the true account of Brian's journey to the top of Mount Everest alone, and his incredible descent after suffering from snow blindness. Thank you for joining us, Brian.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Now, Brian, I tend to think of myself as a pretty adventurous guy. I've been skydiving, used to fly planes, all kinds of stuff like that. Don't think I would ever want to climb the world's tallest mountain. What made you want to do so?
Yeah. Well, I think we're all adventurous in our own way. We're all wired a little differently. And I think just growing up in the Pacific Northwest, and jumping out of helicopters in the Navy and then moving up to the Seattle area in the middle of the Cascades, the mountains were calling, and I just, started creating a new hobby and kicked it up a notch, something like that.
So what was your climbing experience when you partook on this journey to Everest?
So it was part of a bigger goal, climbing the highest peaks of the 7 continents. Obviously, Everest is the highest peak in the world, highest peak in Asia, and it's just amazing. Just getting to base camp alone is just such an amazing experience, and being engulfed, immersed with the Sherpa people, the locals there in Nepal. But actually stepping foot on the mountain, it's surreal.
I have to ask, because as a female, that is so far from my mind, climbing a mountain. What type of prep? How do you prepare to do something like that?
A lot of Stairmaster.
Yeah, well, having some 5,000-6,000 foot peaks in my backyard helps.
Oh.
But I just made it a lifestyle, and I continue that today. In fact, I woke up this morning at 4:45 and had a split board, which is a snowboard that splits in half, and went up to the top of the resort area, carrying some weight in a pack, and then snowboarded down. And I think you don't just wake up one day and want to climb Everest. If you do, you're probably looking for trouble. But you really have to create a lifestyle, and it's for mountaineering, it's all about the core. It's carrying heavy packs often and really working on that cardio, and then just mentally staying fit.
Did it bother you at all knowing that a bunch of people have died on the trek to reach that tallest peak of Mount Everest?
He may have seen some on the way up. I just read something on the internet the other day where it's so cold, sometimes of these people's bodies are still there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 200 plus bodies still there, but for the most part, they're not out in the open up higher. There's a few that are out there, but I've climbed the highest peaks on the continents around the world, and there's always death on mountains. There's death everywhere in the world. I was in the military and experienced it from that perspective. So I think when you're not a mountaineer, or you're not you don't do something in life like that, it seems pretty crazy. But just like anything, like you're saying, for skydiving, so many people think that's nuts until you actually do it.
Right.
You get close to it, you get good at it, and you realize, okay, it is very attainable. And it's the same with climbing Everest, but it's definitely not something you just wake up and decide you're going to do one day.
So explain, you finally reach the area, it's called the death zone, and something happens to your Sherpa, and it's you're up to that pivotal point. Do you continue? Do you turn around? Do you go back? Take your story from there and explain it.
Yeah, it's always tough. You live and die by your decisions up in the mountains,
right.
I guess anywhere in life, but up there specifically, the death zone's above 26,000 feet. Everest is at 29,000 feet, just above. And it was just myself and my Sherpa Pasong, and we were heading up, and at 28,000 feet, he wasn't feeling well, so we had a conversation.
Right.
And at that point, I had to make a decision. Do I continue up completely solo from there, because there was no one else going for the summit that day? And most importantly, could he get down? He assured me he could, and then I continued up. And, never thought that I was, going to go snowblind on the summit.
Yeah.
Well, and also, let's back up for a quick second. Jeff asked before we started the interview what a Sherpa was.
Oh, yeah.
And a Sherpa they're the local Nepalese people that help you up the mountain, right? They know the mountain really well. They'll carry your gear and stuff like that.
Yeah, Sherpa. So They live up in the higher altitudes, so they've been employed to help people climb in the Himalayas, in the surrounding mountains there. You'll have porters, which will help get stuff to like base camp, and then on the mountain you might have a climbing Sherpa, which is what Pasang was.
Okay.
But it's really a climbing partner at that point. But yeah, just amazing people, just really, basic values, but just really great people to hang out with.
So they're local people that would be part guide, almost part human mule to help you ascend the mountain?
Essentially.
I don't know if I'd put it that way, but just really great people, and definitely good people to climb with. And they are employed, by Westerners that are climbing, but you have Western guides, you have some Sherpa climbing guides.
And Brian, were you on oxygen at the time? Because, like you said, the altitude is so high, and the Sherpas are
above Camp 3 at 23,000 feet. So when I started using oxygen, so I was carrying a couple tanks, which are like 15 pounds apiece, and it's not like scuba diving where it's 100% compressed air, because if you came off of it, you would die instantly.
Yeah.
But it just mixes with the outside air, so it helps a little bit.
Yeah.
But on the descent, I actually ran out of oxygen.
Yeah. So let's get back to that. You're nearing the top. Your Sherpa had to leave. You decided to go it alone. Take us from there.
So made it to the top, as the sun was rising. So on highly glaciated peaks, you climb through the night, because once the sun comes up, things become pretty unstable. So you have crampons, spikes on your boots. There's ropes that are attached to fixed devices. So I have a harness, and I'm attached to those devices, which is really one of the main reasons that I would continue up on my own, because there is a path. And those are set by Sherpa and guides and, myself in certain areas. So I made it to the top, made a radio call, took the highest selfie in the world, and, can't spend a lot of time up there. And winds were starting to kick up, and I needed to head down. So a couple feet into it, I just went completely snowblind. And what that is, it's basically the sunburning of the cornea, which typically takes about 24 hours to come back.
Wow.
And my eyesight wouldn't fully come back for about a month and a half.
Wow.
What were your thoughts at that time, being up so high and
knowing you had to make your way back down and you can't see?
Well,
and you're alone.
And you're alone.
I didn't try to overthink it. In the military, my job was jumping out of helicopters, rescuing pilots, and, in the water in oxygen-deprived areas. And a lot of that training came back, and I dropped to my knees at that point, grabbed the rope that I was attached to, and assessed the situation. I was at the highest point in the world, completely blind and completely alone, and I had to get down. And, without overthinking it, I just started taking very deliberate, slow steps.
Wow.
And what should have taken about 3 hours to get back to high camp, the highest camp in the world, still at 26,000 feet, took me 7 hours. I took a few pretty major falls. I ran out of oxygen, and I don't know, I never really felt alone, though. I couldn't see anything. With snow blindness, it's not black, it's bright white. So like if you put a light bulb an inch from your face, it's about that bright, so you can't focus on anything, and it's just really painful. Like I always compare it to like breaking up potato chips and putting it in your eyelids.
Oh, wow.
Just that scratching feeling. It's just very painful, but just kept moving, and I don't know, I felt this presence around me. I just kept moving, and, eventually made it down.
You speak about feeling a presence. I mean, tell us about that. What was that like? What was going through your head?
Well, I was so focused getting down. If you guys are in a room with each other right now, if you close your eyes, each other are there. And it was just that same feeling coming down, just one step in front of the other, trying to force frustration out of my mind, but just doing everything I could, just keeping my faith, keeping my focus, and just never giving up. But it was just always there. It's interesting. I didn't really pay too much attention, other than I knew it was there.
So once you lost your vision, you had to get down by finding those fixed positions, going from one to the other on the mountain?
Yeah, so it's
unreal.
They're all connected. So think of a rope connected from almost base camp all the way up to these devices, these anchors that are in ice and rock, and you have to come in and out of those anchors. And with my harness, I have 2 protection devices, carabiners, that I'm always locking in and out. But now I didn't have sight, and it's very, very steep. At the top, there's a 2-mile drop straight down on both sides of you. It's about 1.5 feet wide to walk across. So it's, very unforgiving stumble.
So you're saying that you had 2 clips that you had to attach. How did you know? I mean, I know you're trained for certain things, but I can just think the sheer panic and you can't see and you have to remove those harnesses and clip them again somewhere else on that line. That had to have been so scary.
It was very scary, and that's really why it took a lot of time getting down as well, because I was very deliberate. Because if I came out of that, I knew, it was pretty much certain death.
Yeah.
So using my other senses, and I was really trying to use sight, but it just would not work, and it was very frustrating. But I would use sound to make sure that my carabiners were clipping in and locking it, and using touch.
Right.
And I could hear the winds, 50-mile-an-hour winds, kicking up over the ridge, and I'd have to hunker down, let the wind blow over me, stand back up, take another step. It's just a long, long process.
It's unbelievable. Wow. And you said it took how long for your vision to return?
About 1.5 months.
Wow.
Ooh.
So you had to fly all the way home, halfway around the world, still suffering from snow blindness.
Oh, yeah. And as soon as I got back, I had the media, news in my house. And
right.
I was on stage in a couple areas. And, of course, they always put bright lights on you. And I'm like just blinded. It just burned every time I'd get a light on me.
It's like, hey, guys, I just had a ton of light in my eyes. It caused me to go blind.
Yeah,
thanks. For shining
can we do this interview in the dark, please?
Well, thank goodness that
Incredible
you're
story.
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, faith had a lot to do with it.
Definitely a blessing to be alive, for sure.
Yeah, and what is your biggest takeaway? What can people take away from your book? People who aren't crazy, who don't want to travel around the world and climb a mountain. If they read your book, what can they take away from that for inspiration?
I pray that no one ever goes through what I went through, and I don't even know if I could survive it again. But I do know that, just very basic, we all go through a lot. And faith and focus got me down through an impossible scenario. And I've had to deal with that. I'm going to have to deal with it the rest of my life. Survivor's remorse. Why are there 200+ bodies up there?
Wow.
But I think it was just during that time, I was praying. I was just making my way down, never, ever giving up. And I think a lot of people, it's easy to give up when things are tough.
Yeah.
And
nature.
Things are temporary in this life. They may seem, tremendous at the time, but you just got to keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Perseverance.
And you'll eventually get past
Great message as well.
Where can everyone get your book?
Well, it's everywhere. Amazon. My site is briandickinson.net.
Okay.
I have different links there.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Brian Dickinson. The incredible descent after suffering from snow blindness at the top of Mount Everest. He's a former U.S. Navy Air Rescue swimmer and accomplished adventurer and author.
Blind Descent. Pick it up.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Brian.
Yep. Thank you.
Oh,
incredible.
Amazing story.
Yeah, I love it. All right.
I'd have been scared beyond belief.
I like to think that nothing scares me, but I would be terrified.
Yeah,
how could you not be?
That would be straight out of a horror movie for me.
The part I can't stop thinking about is all these different adventures go up the mountains.
Yeah. Yes.
But these Sherpas, the local people,
do it all the time.
Do it every day.
No big deal. I'm a Sherpa. That's what I do.
They must be badass folks.
I would imagine. Yeah. All right.
Well, that about wraps up this segment. Make sure you tune in to hear what's new in American medicine today. But if you or someone you know is suffering with neck, back, or sciatic pain, reach out to Bonati at Bonati.com. You're listening to American Medicine Today.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
This is the first time that I am pain free after 18 years. And it's just wonderful. I love it.
Phenomenal results. No pain whatsoever.
My pain is virtually gone. Nothing short of a miracle.
Those surgeries gave me my life back.
Already I feel like a new person.
I'm going home new. I can chase my grandbaby now. I can garden, I can cook, and I'm really thrilled. The outcome's been remarkable.
I feel 100% better.
It's like a miracle.
It was phenomenal. It literally did change my life.
I was in a wheelchair at that time, and I left here walking.
Every single pain that I had when I came here is gone.
I'm ready to go home and feel great. This place is great. Thank you.
Everything that they said they would do, they have done, and I'm very, very satisfied and happy with those results.
I knew in surgery, in fact, I told the surgeon when he relieved the pain off the nerve.
The pain is gone. I'm feeling wonderful.
I have no pain. I feel better than I felt in 4 years from the surgery. It was almost immediate relief.
Today I am totally pain-free, which is just amazing. It's fantastic.
It definitely works. I mean, I really don't know what else to tell you. I'm happy.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonati spine procedures, Alfred Bonati, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonati and your host, Kimberly Brumell.
Thanks for joining us on American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Brumell, along with Ethan Euchre and Dr. Alfred Bonati of the Bonati Spine Institute. Well, it's that time to talk about what's new in American medicine today.
Well, I just have a very poor impression this morning. I saw Obama crying after he put some executive action ruling or start to discuss about. Such a hypocrite, man. I just cannot believe he should be crying for the damage that creates to millions of people in this country. And for the damage that creates in medicine and for the tremendous amount of problems that we have today. If the people would really understand what's happening, the left has an agenda, and the agenda is to close healthcare almost totally on the market of specialties and create a general practice of medicine to serve the nation. People don't really understand the horrendous situation that's going to happen if something like that is being carried.
You really should get into that, because I know we've touched upon it before, Doc, where, I mean, as someone who didn't have a background in medicine myself, I didn't even know the difference between a DO and an MD, let alone the difference between a general practitioner and a specialist. So.
Well, I was in a town in the rural area in New York, and I heard that the hospital in that area was closing. I was so unimpressed with a situation like that, because they had the possibilities to serve a population there of around 5,000 or 7,000 population, and the hospital was open for a long time and was doing a great service. But then suddenly I learned more that hospitals in the United States are struggling. Last year, around 50 rural hospitals, they closed.
Right.
When you start to talk about the 50 rural hospitals they closed, you need to know that there's a tremendous amount of people that they are not going to be served. When I saw that it's around 700 population of Medicare people and Medicaid people that they are not going to be served.
700,000, right?
700,000.
Due to these rural hospitals closing.
Exactly. Those 50.
Yeah.
The idea is to close all the rural hospitals and move all the population towards a big healthcare hospitals managed by the government. You don't understand how horrendous is that. I don't think Americans are going to take that, but just the idea to do that is insulting to a normal American mind. These 50 hospitals that they closed would cost around 86,000 rural jobs. When you lose these jobs, you're going to have around $10.6 billion that is an income that will disappear.
Well, you just mentioned that you were in Malone, New York, which is very rural upstate. I grew up in upstate New York, and when I visit back home, I mean, it's decimated. There's no jobs. So the jobs that are there, they need to keep there rather than closing down hospitals and eliminating even more jobs.
Exactly, absolutely. Well, the major trouble is that not only these rural areas are going to suffer because they don't have a hospital, that they are also going to suffer because the physicians are going to move. If they don't have a way to practice in a hospital, they don't have a system that is going to provide some type of a help for the patient, the physicians are going to move. So these areas are going to be empty of health service.
They said their workloads will increase, is going to lead to stress. And actually, one of the things on here said physicians have the highest rate of suicide of any other profession. And they are 1.87 times as likely to kill themselves than the average American worker.
Wow. It's unbelievable. Yeah. And it's just due to massive stress levels. And it's just going to continue to make it worse. Now, what do you think the solution is, Doc, other than just overhauling Obamacare and keeping the status quo, I guess?
The solution is very simple. We need to return to this country to a common sense country, okay? The good things, they need to survive. The bad things, they need to disappear. We are practically making survive the bad things. Every time that there's something done by government, we know it's bad. We know it's going to be a delay. We know it's going to be poor service. We know it's going to be an irresponsible service. We know it's going to cost more money. We know we need to pay more taxes. Why are we continue supporting this? I'm so surprised on these elections to see that the Democrats still believe in those stupid dreams that everything's going to be for free.
Right.
I can't believe that after this jolt of Obama in the power, and after these people suffer the jolt of this individual, still they believe they're going to get something for free.
They still buy into it.
They're diehards. They're never going to want to give up their freebies, so they're always going to line up behind it. And until it actually hits them in their own pocket, they're going to stick with it.
Absolutely.
I agree with that.
Well, that's about it.
That's about all we have, at least in this segment. So make sure you tune in to Bloomberg both Saturdays and Sundays. Check your local listings for American Medicine Today. And here in Tampa at 7 o'clock on WFTS ABC. See you next time.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
This is the first time that I am paying free after 18 years. And it's just wonderful. I love it.
Phenomenal results. No pain whatsoever.
My pain is virtually gone. Nothing short of a miracle.
Those surgeries gave me my life back.
Already, I feel like a new person.
I'm going home new. I can chase my grandbaby now. I can garden. I can cook. And I'm really thrilled. The outcome's been remarkable.
I feel 100% better.
It's like a miracle.
It was phenomenal. It literally did change my life.
I was in a wheelchair at that time, and I left here walking.
Every single pain that I had when I came here is gone.
I'm ready to go home and feel great. This place is great. Thank you.
Everything that they said they would do, they have done, and I'm very, very satisfied and happy with those results.
I knew in surgery, in fact, I told the surgeon when he relieved the pain off the nerve.
The pain is gone. I'm feeling wonderful.
I have no pain. I feel better than I felt in 4 years from the surgery. It was almost immediate relief.
Today I am totally pain-free, which is just amazing. It's fantastic.
It definitely works. I mean, I really don't know what else to tell you. I'm happy.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.